Imagine you're trying to get somewhere, to visit a family member, but along your journey you encounter obstacles, wall after wall that barricades your path. It would make getting to your family member much more difficult. Now imagine the same journey, but with a bridge that crosses every wall. That would make getting to your family member much easier. Walls stop people from being able to see each other or to connect. A bridge creates common ground, a place for all to meet. Structural bridges can connect two banks of a river. Metaphorical bridges connect minds, bring people closer together, and facilitate sharing. Bridges help solve common problems when understanding, empathy, and love act as the connecting bonds. As a nation, our healthcare system is overwhelmed with barriers. A hassle. That's how many patients and providers describe it. People who can gain access are often forced to navigate their way through a maze of fragmented services to receive the care they deserve. Our country cannot build a comprehensive path to health as long as so many people continue to face steep and stubborn obstacles to well-being. Throughout history, human beings have used technology to solve problems and ease physical burdens. Bridges are technological tools that solve the problem of crossing obstacles in a way that saves effort and time. But is it too limiting to define bridges only in terms of efficiency? Frank Gehry is one of the world's most influential architects. He has profoundly reordered the idea of constructed space, even among people who don't usually think about constructing buildings, but simply work and live in them. The BP Pedestrian Bridge is the first Gehry-designed bridge in the world. It transforms the simple concept of a footbridge into a transcendent work of art. People walking on the bridge enjoy unparalleled and unobstructed views of Chicago's skyline, Millennium Park, and the shores of Lake Michigan. The gentle grade makes it barrier-free and accessible to wheelchairs. Gehry brings unusual designs, materials, and industries together to make the impossible reality. Why? In his words,
most structures have no sense of humanity. They're cold and lifeless, and they're not welcoming to people. They need to be places to meet, to share, to get to know others. Places that rejuvenate and bring new life. Push traditional thinking and boundaries to transform what could be just an ordinary structure into an energy that doesn't do what people expect. Rather, it creates community. Once there, people feel it is theirs because it is theirs. Everything is for people, and if we focus on that, we won't go wrong.
in designing structures that defy expectations and stand as beacons of the impossible realized, one might wonder, what are Gehry's guiding principles?
Hold on to your values. Be curious and follow your curiosity. Ignite your soul and take every crisis as an opportunity to do better. You can learn from the past, but history is not a substitute for imagination. Ask questions. What do you want to create that others say you cannot? Why can't I? Why? Why not? What if?
What if? Gehry's provocative question helps him make the impossible into reality. What if there were communities with no barriers between people and the care they deserve, where prevention and seamless continuum of care were the norm, where health meant physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being, and not just the absence of disease or infirmity? This is exactly the impossibility that CHI was formed to make into reality. CHI was constructed to profoundly reorder the idea of a healthy community. Like Gehry, our foundresses believed everything is for people. The sisters lived this in the way they cared for others, They understood the value of relationships and took time to get to know people and understand their needs and assets. Then they built the connections, the bridges, people to people, one person at a time. People lifting and supporting one another to create health. They entered into relationships and, in the process, allowed themselves to be enriched by them. In 1995, our foundresses recognized a defining moment in history, an opportunity to creatively shape the direction of the healing ministry for the future, and so they built another bridge. They created something others couldn't even envision, a religious and lay partnership that would continue centuries of commitment to caring for those in need while adapting to a changing healthcare environment and the emerging needs of the communities they served. Our foundresses never intended their new creation to live out the mission alone. They knew bridge building requires many hands working together, and so they invited us to share in the sacred act of building and strengthening bridges, to become bridge builders ourselves, and to invite others who have different perspectives to join us in this effort. On some intrinsic level, we are all called, whether by God or the human condition, to be bridge builders. We are naturally driven in a deep and primal way to want to connect within our families, social circles, communities, and workplaces, with the natural world and the spiritual world. Bridge building is not always easy. It can be awkward, daunting, and painful. It is clumsy and uncertain. Bridge building may mean uncomfortable conversations and bruised egos. It may mean being the first to say, "I'm sorry," or "I was wrong." And bridge building requires humility, forgiveness, and grace. There is a tendency to preserve and maintain the status quo, but bridges cannot be built when we stay in our comfort zones or by pretending we aren't scared or confused. Bridges cannot be built when we think in terms of us and them or the other, or when we focus on the ways we are different instead of what we share. Bridges are built when we cast a wide net and are radically inclusive. Bridges are built when we ask questions and take time to listen to the answers. Bridges are built when we bring forward our humanity and stumble through the messiness of real life, when we focus on our shared human condition. Bridges are built when we step into the heart and mind of someone else through dialogue, a tender touch, an open mind, and a generous heart. Bridge building is hard work, and it is good and essential work. Bridge building is holy work, which brings us to our opportunity to build bridges, many bridges. Health and health care profoundly touch the lives of us all. The ability to live a full life and radiate the unique dignity that belongs to each person is greatly affected by health. For CHI, health and healing hold special significance. Our heritage and legacy call us to remove barriers, to preserve health and well-being, and to prevent disease and illness before it occurs. Clearly, the gap between reality and what we can imagine is ever present. In trying to bridge that gap, at times we will be limited by resources, at others only by our imaginations. Suspend disbelief for just one moment and imagine that we have enough brilliance, resources, people, data, even money to solve the impossible problems we face in healthcare today. But perhaps what we need isn't more of anything, but to connect everything. When it comes to improving health, well-being, and equity, America has addressed health issues in parallel tracks with limited cross-sector collaboration. Grounded in our legacy, CHI must continue to work across disciplines and industries to forge new and unconventional partnerships, to move beyond siloed problem solving and work to change the interconnected systems that influence health. Now is our time to share in the creation of a movement that engages leaders from communities, philanthropy, government, and business. A movement of people from different disciplines and political perspectives, lifting and supporting one another. This movement can drive positive change in the systems and structures that shape our lives, from the food we eat to the paths we take to school and work, to our access to services that support well-being. Now is not only the time, it is our extraordinary opportunity to boldly advance our mission, the very purpose of our founding, and build bridges that support healthier, more equitable, and prosperous communities.